My worst and scariest symptoms were the brain fog and fatigue and the corona coaster, which was really sucky, for lack of a better term. I felt concussed and catatonic, and I felt like my brain was being eaten alive. When I was first starting to go to the doctors, they didn't see any other patient like me, so they thought I was pretty crazy. I did think I was going to die at one point when my oxygen levels started dropping and the chest pain was super unbearable. At one point, I remember this night so clearly, I was in bed with my husband and I was crying and crying and crying. And I was just so like out of it and fatigued and hallucinations. And I remember telling him the next time I have any energy, I'm going to use it to make videos for my son.
My name is Dave Lovett, and I am Jessica's husband.
My name is Elaine Alcon, and I am Jessica's mother.
Taking care of a long hauler is brutal.
Very emotional.
Mostly because you are seeing this person that you love suffer that you've never seen before, and that's the hardest thing.
I was strong at one point, and then I would get weak, and I would, break down, and just seeing her in her different moods, it was just emotional from one day to the next, 1 minute to the next.
Not everything I had to do, that was much easier compared to just seeing the suffering.
I was very scared for her life.
It was very scary. It was very scary on many different levels.
I felt like I didn't know if she was going to make it through this or not.
Not knowing if it would ever get better.
Her heart rate would go up. It was just very scary. You didn't know if it was a heart attack going on or how this was actually affecting her.
The symptoms that I observed in Jess were extreme fatigue.
It was just different every single day, from migraines to
brain fog, like unable to understand what I'm saying, unable to even form sentences sometimes.
Aches and pains to heart to lungs to
mumbles were almost like the most she could muster.
It was just everything. So I never knew what to expect. It never stayed consistent at all.
That's the sort of the day-to-day of taking care of a long hauler.
What I contributed to the family was, taking care of the baby.
Cooking for her.
Taking care of her and making sure that she ate.
Making smoothies, like mostly all just vegetables, tiny bit of fruit to make it not taste so bad.
It took like an hour or so, to do the juices.
Carrying her up the stairs, essentially.
Walking the dog and, cleaning up.
Just being, in general, just being there for whatever needed to happen that day.
Anywhere that she needed to go or anything, someone had to take her and pick her up or take her and stay with her. And I actually didn't feel comfortable leaving her, anywhere. I wanted to be there when she walked out the door. And
a lot of times she wouldn't have the energy to get out of bed and go downstairs to eat. So they bring food up to her, bring everything upstairs, and the dishes were piling up.
Whatever it took to keep her healthy and alive, that's what I was here for. Prior to COVID, she was amazing. She was just completely 100% in work, mom, running, taking care of the household, just doing everything that there is in everyday life.
Extremely vibrant, full of energy. I couldn't keep up with her on just about every level of the day-to-day life before this. I mean, I kind of liken it to like she was a Porsche, a turbocharged Porsche.
She was physically fit, and she stayed on top of things. Organization.
Ahead of the pack, just constantly I'm trying to keep up with her.
After she got COVID, and only a very short time afterwards, she wasn't able to handle any of that mentally. The brain fog was just terrible.
All of a sudden, she's like a VW bug with like running on one cylinder.
I would catch her standing out of the refrigerator, and I remember a few times, asking her, Jessica, what are you looking for? And she's like, I just don't know. I just don't know. And that really, really hurt, to see her in that state of mind, and to know that that a person as young as she is, that is not able to think and keep a concentration for just a short period of time.
It is extremely scary when you see that huge difference, and you don't know if she's ever going to be that. I didn't know if she would ever be that, have that energy, have that sharpness, that wit, that just, in every way, would she ever get that back? Would I ever get my wife back? Will I?
I know she was scared to death because she had so many dreams of her life and what she was going to do before this, and during this time she didn't even know if she could take care of her son. She wasn't able to, at that point, to take care of her son. She couldn't even pick him up.
Before, she was full of energy and laughing and the best mom, because she knew how to connect with our son in a way that was childlike, not childish, but childlike, which is so refreshing. And to see it in an adult, and to see that in my wife, and that just left. It was that, all of that energy, all of that playfulness, all of that life and love and joy, it was just vacant. It was gone.
She couldn't even walk up the stairs. It was heart-wrenching for me to see her husband have to help her go up the stairs, and it was just so mind-boggling that every day was so different. One day she would be able to talk a little bit, and then she would just completely be confused.
For a while, our son wasn't fully aware of Jess being sick. We tried to figure things out to where she could still be around, or he could go spend some time with her, and he definitely felt something was different. It was different more than it was wrong for him. It was like something's different, something's off, but not like, for a long time he didn't really pick up on the severity of what was happening.
I remember this once, that he was so used to his dad walking her up the stairs that he actually took her dress tail and wanted to take her up to her bedroom by himself. And that just shows that he was taking her to put her to bed, because that's where she needed to be. So Jess
did a really great job of trying to find ways to spend time with him still and have quality time with him, and that really meant a lot to him, and did a lot of good.
Am I going?
Where are you going?
It wasn't until later, actually, when she started coming out of or having like a brief period of feeling better, not 100% of course, going, the roller coaster. So going on the upside of the roller coaster and coming out of the haze for a little bit, that's when he actually started realizing emotionally, it seems, that he's going, oh, there she is. There's my mom again. That's okay. Wait, what happened? Where were you? Are you gonna go again? What, that's all these things. It caused a lot of emotional trauma.
He missed her very much. He ached for her. He cried for her. He missed the attention. He missed her holding him. And he had emotions about that. He was very compassionate at times, and then sometimes he would get angry when we would have to take him away from her because she couldn't handle it anymore. And so there was lots of different emotions that he had during this time.
To realize, when she was coming back a little bit, oh yeah, you were really gone. I missed the hell out of you. Wait a minute. Are you gonna stay, or where are you going? Are you going again? I was feeling those things on the roller coaster, and I didn't even know how to process those things. They were traumatizing for me, so I can't imagine what it was like for him. And we just did our best to understand that he had to be feeling the same things we were feeling, just not being able to explain it or describe it, or because I could barely describe it myself.
Huh?
I want to bouncy boy, please.
There it is. All right, let's do bouncy boy.
What was it like getting medical attention? Yeah. Okay. Attention? That's not exactly the word.
Finding a doctor that would listen to her, believe her, examine her, even make an appointment for her was just so, it just took so much energy and so much time. They would just postpone things.
It was hard to get anybody to pay attention at all whatsoever. I mean, if we would even get somebody who was remotely, if we can even get through to somebody.
The insurance wouldn't qualify, and this and that, and it was just something that we fought every single day.
The constant phone calls and the constant following up and doing their job for them every day, 10 times 10 different doctors and specialists. I had no idea.
She would get very upset and very distraught with having to work with doctors that didn't listen to her, that didn't, when you go to a doctor and they run tests and everything comes out fine.
If they didn't know something, they would just immediately turn gaslight. Turn on the gaslight.
And if there's nothing that comes up on those tests, then he's not gonna look any further. And I feel like that's what they've done.
It's all in your head. Stop being so nervous. I don't know what I'm talking about, so therefore you must be full of crap.
But with her, it was just not consistent and not very validating, to her being as sick as she was.
I wanted to slash a lot of tires.
Friends and family have helped as far as emotional. They've been here at a distance. Some have and some have not. The
ways that family and friends helped the most was by doing the research, reading the articles we were sending them, and pursuing the information, trying to stay apprised of whatever the new and the latest information was, which was changing and evolving regularly.
Just keeping in contact with her, see how she is and everything.
The energy and the time that some of them put in to really at least do their best to understand.
and people volunteered to bring meals by, or to send us gift cards, or to pick up food for us, or pick up groceries for us.
It just meant a lot to us, that the few of them were really taking the time and obviously caring enough to do that.
They just really reached out and helped, and they also took up donations for her to buy the fruits and vegetables and the food that she needed, because she was on a low histamine diet, and it can contain very specific foods.
I found it shocking, and I mean, maybe it shouldn't have been, but.
And there were friends and family also that wasn't supportive because they didn't believe that it was real.
Bewildering and off-putting.
And people didn't wear masks, and the closest of friends that and family that just didn't want to wear a mask, and still wanted to visit, and still didn't understand how contagious this thing was.
We were as strict as you could possibly be. I mean, our mindset was do everything that you possibly can. Do everything you can to do your part for society, to do your part for your family. Every little bit mattered, every little bit counted.
Even after we have all had the vaccine, I still will continue to wear my mask because I feel like there's still variants out there.
It's better to be overcautious during this time and to do take some necessary extra steps than to just be like, screw it. I don't know. It's tiring. It's getting old.
The anti-maskers was frustrating to me. Political stuff this year was completely frustrating to me. And family and friends, that just didn't support was frustrating.
We were in isolation initially for 3 months, so I decided to go back to work. And my work is as an entertainer in a crowded bar with about 300 people, maskless. That's when I brought COVID home.
But as KXAN's Jennifer Sanders explains, some who've struggled to recover from the virus think there should be tighter restrictions statewide.
Dave Lovett has been a successful full-time musician for more than a decade. In June, that all changed.
After playing a couple nights in clubs, I just woke up feeling like a truck hit me, and then it just went downhill from there.
He was diagnosed with COVID-19. He calls himself one of the lucky ones because the hardest part of his battle was giving it to his wife, who is now identified as a long hauler.
What's happened to my wife is the next worst thing from dying, honestly. It has taken her life in so many ways.
His own experience, along with the recent surge in cases, makes him want to see tighter restrictions statewide. In a recent radio interview, Governor Greg Abbott said we won't see any more lockdowns in the state of Texas. The focus will be on healing those with COVID and getting them out of the hospital.
And then we were in isolation for another 11 months.
We just took a couple days to get away from the house because we had been isolated so long.
Fortunately and unfortunately, I was not working. So I was able to be around to help that much. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make any money, and so that definitely added a lot of stress.
My coping during this time was prayers morning, noon, and night, and my faith in God. I couldn't have done it without my faith.
For me, it was extremely important to take moments, to take some time to take care of myself. And, even just for me, it was spiritually, I needed to tap into something, and that really helped me, and that helped me be able to give more.
The smiles of my grandson, here, being able to take care of him. I smile so much that my cheeks hurt, and I didn't even realize that's what it was at the time, but that's why my cheeks were hurting.
Eventually, I did start going to school online.
I do have fibromyalgia, and I do have aches and pains, and I do have a chronic illness that is it's very painful.
It's really important to realize that your long hauler needs to be taken care of, but you also need to take care of yourself.
It's I don't know what I'm going to be like every day when I wake up.
In whatever little window you might have, if you can carve out an hour, a couple hours here or there to just do what you need to recharge, even just a quick little fast recharge, and then get back to it.
But still, do what I could to be able to exercise and take care of myself and to stretch and to otherwise, I have lots of pains in my legs and my arms and headaches and everything.
It is really important. You'll get burned out, and then you won't be any use. You won't be any help if you don't try to take some time to take care of yourself.
And doing the best I can to take care of myself.
And it's really hard. Of course, it's really hard because you want to, it seems like the most important thing is taking care of them, taking care of whatever else is around the house. But just don't completely forget about yourself.
You just definitely need to take care of yourself. You have to think of yourself first at this time.
Because you will get burned out, and then you won't be nearly as much help.
I was just so proud that she never gave up. She never stopped. She never stopped doing research for any of the symptoms.
Even in her brain fog and in her fatigue, she was still doing everything she could to identify what she was feeling, and therefore maybe this specialist would be able to help with that.
She looked for other people's advice, and she talked to other people.
Her Instagram account started very small, and it was just going to be a diary. It's just going to be essentially a journal, pretty much for herself, just to maybe even remember, document things that she had the energy to write down.
And getting all the advice from the other groups.
And then it became this place where other people were finding her.
Being able to advocate and to see what other people were doing.
She was so proactive in her health.
She was completely 100% into this.
Changing her diet and getting extremely strict, finding the foods that would make her worse, foods that would make her relapse, cutting those out.
Whatever it took, from the juicing to the eating to the diets to the completely not eating some foods, just everything to get better.
Just doing the work. Doing the work in the midst of a health crisis. It's extremely just impressive.
Her not ever giving up was, she was willing to try anything, whatever it took for her to get better. That's what she wanted to do.
When the doctors, the Western doctors or whatever, our medical system was failing, she went a different direction and went to a naturopathic direction, and that ended up being the route that, for her, that did so much good.
Whatever it took to get better, she was out there looking for it.
And when you don't have any energy, having the energy to do those kinds of things, I'm just so proud of her. For me, COVID was relatively easy. It was what you heard, like the 2 weeks or so. I had it for 12 days. the symptoms for 12 days. After 2 weeks, I was feeling pretty much better. I mean, I was mostly myself, and then shortly after that, it was 100%. It was, for me, not all that bad.
Fatigue that people are experiencing it's quite a deep fatigue, and it's in the muscles, it's in the joints, it's related to inflammation.
The fatigue that I felt was the most difficult part of COVID for me. And it was the most intense fatigue I've ever felt. I have been on tour where you gig, you drive all night, you don't get any sleep, you gig again, you do it over and over again. I've been tired, I have been exhausted, I've been drained to the maximum, and it is nothing as intense as the fatigue you feel with COVID. It's just nothing. I guess incomparable to anything I've ever experienced. And I'm really glad that I was able to experience that, because when Jess started feeling that, I could, at least on some level, I could relate.
You shouldn't tell a long hauler to get up and exercise, walk more, do stuff for yourself.
Do not minimize or downplay any of their symptoms, anything that's going on. Focus on what they need.
To be there 100% unconditional, to just take every day as a new day and just go with the flow.
Listen to what they need. There's so much research, more and more research what they might need. If they can't think for themselves, which many days, many weeks, they may not be able to, get online, get in groups. There's so many forums, there's so many, do the research.
And whatever they are feeling, if it's fatigue, if they want to talk, if they don't want to talk.
Just ultimately believe what they're going through is real.
To see what they're going through is sometimes it's so unreal that you don't want to believe them, but you have to. I mean, because they are feeling all of this on the inside, and if you don't believe them, then you can't help them.
And do not gaslight them. Do not say it's all in their head.
Just turn everything over and just listen to them, and be there for anything that they may need, or if they say they can't do something, they cannot do it.
Do your best to understand.
If they say they, that they need this or that, then that's what they feel is going to make them better.
They would never choose to feel this way. No one would ever choose to feel this way.
Do whatever it takes to make them better.
All they want is to get better, to feel better, to get back to themselves.
They may be able to do something one day, and then the next day it's going to take them 3 or 4 days to get back to where they was, after doing a little bit of exercise.
Help them get back to themselves. Do everything you can, whatever it is.
Ask for help if you need it, and be willing to accept help, which is very hard.
As far as any words to the long hauler community, ultimately, and it's easy for me to say, don't give up.
Never give up. Keep fighting. Take one day at a time.
It's not fair what's happened.
It's not in your head. It's not all in your head.
It's not right. It's not just. But don't give up.
Trust God with every step of your life.
Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on the people who are caring for you. Don't give up on the people who still love you. Even if it feels like everybody's given up on you, I know there's somebody out there who's not giving up on you. Don't give up on them. Don't give up on yourself.
I am going to drive for the first time in over 5 months.
waiting on the phone call from the doctors to actually tell us about her heart and about her mind,
Brain.
and her brain. Okay, let's start over.
Okay.
Brain fog, cognitive. What is it? Cognitive
Decline.
And not be able to hold a conversation at all.
Lana, get out. Come here. Get out of here. Go lay down there. Go lay down.